An economic collapse doesn't look the way most people expect. It doesn't start with a market crash. It starts when everyday life becomes more difficult to maintain. Most people don't recognize it until they're already inside it. Rachel doesn't think anything is wrong either. Her credit card balance hasn't changed, but she sits down with the statement and something is off. The interest charge is higher. The minimum payment has ticked up again. She runs the numbers. More of what she sends them every month is now consumed by interest before it touches the actual debt. It doesn't feel like a problem, yet. Her tax return comes back $400 short. Not a catastrophe, just enough to erase the specific plan she'd already made for it. She goes through her documents twice, sure she's made an error. Same job, same income, no mistakes found. The money is simply gone. Redirected upstream by a policy change she never saw, never voted on, and will never fully be able to trace. The mechanism for doing so is so vast and so deliberately complicated that she can't even tell you exactly who to be angry at. The small stuff starts adding up, and it takes a while to see the shape of it because each piece is designed to be just small enough to dismiss. The face wash runs out faster, same bottle, less product. The streaming service has moved the feature she actually paid for behind a more expensive tier. They didn't raise the price. They lowered what the price gets you. At the grocery store, Rachel notices the price of chicken is up again. The olive oil she likes has been swapped for a cheaper brand in the same spot on the shelf. The granola bars are in a smaller box at the same price. She makes adjustments without really deciding to. Grabs the store brand, skips the thing she wanted. Does the quiet math that millions of people are doing in millions of grocery stores. And at the register, the total is still higher than last month. Her friend Dana loses her job in October. 8 years in her field. She'll land somewhere. Everyone agrees on this. But by November, the story has changed. The severance is 3 weeks, not the month she'd been told to expect. Cobra costs twice what she'd budgeted for. The safety net, it turns out, has some significant holes in it. Rachel helps her workshop a resume one evening, and somewhere around the second hour, she notices something. Dana is no longer being selective. She is being fast and frightened. Back at her own office, Rachel is only now seeing the shape of something that's been changing for months. 2 people left in the spring and were never replaced. A vendor relationship they used to pay for is now her job. A meeting that had 8 people has 4. No announcement, no memo. It's simply settled into place the way these things do. Gradually, then completely. Her title hasn't changed, her salary hasn't changed, but the job has quietly expanded in the ways that cost her and narrowed in the ways that protected her. This isn't random. It's a system under pressure, tightening in multiple places at the same time. Debt gets more expensive, so people spend less. Businesses pull back, so jobs dry up or quietly shrink. Income tightens, savings dwindle, and people who used to have options start making decisions from fear instead of choice. What makes it collapse rather than just correct is the moment confidence goes. Not market confidence, personal confidence. It happens when enough Rachels, in enough cities, stop feeling comfortable, extending themselves into the future. They pull back at the same time, because they're all feeling the same walls close in. That shared pullback is what tips a slow squeeze into a collapse. The system can absorb pressure. It can't absorb everyone pulling back at the same time. By the time it has a name, recession, crisis, correction, whatever word they decide to use, it's been underway for a year. You just watched what year 1 looks like. If this is starting to make sense, subscribe. We take what's happening into the lab and break it down. This isn't advice. These are the behaviors that tend to separate the people who hold up from the people who don't when things start tightening. 1. Focus on debt where the interest can increase. Not all debt behaves the same way in a downturn. Some stay predictable, some don't. Credit cards and similar loans can move against you when rates rise even if you don't change. Your behavior. A card at 15% becomes 22. The minimum payment goes up. More of it goes to interest. Less goes to the balance. A debt you were managing starts managing you. List what you owe. Separate what stays the same from what can change. Prioritize the ones that can move. If you can't eliminate it, look at moving it into something with a set rate. The goal is simple. Make your payments predictable before everything else stops being so. 2. Build a cash reserve and understand what it actually buys you. Have 6 to 12 months of living expenses, easy to access in a savings account, separate from your checking. Not invested, not committed. Just there, set aside. When income gets disrupted, A layoff, a cut in hours, a business that slows down. The people who get through it without permanent damage are almost always the ones who have a reserve that buys them time. During the 2008 recession, job searches often took 6 months or longer. 6 months isn't paranoia. It's the minimum, so start there. Build toward it if you're not there yet. Even 2 months of cushion puts you in a very different position than none. There's one part of this that matters more than anything we've talked about so far. We'll come back to it. 3. Treat market enthusiasm with caution. When a specific investment starts showing up everywhere in headlines and in conversations of people around you, talking about making easy money, that's a signal. Not about the investment itself, but about where things are. That's usually when prices are already stretched, driven by the fear of missing out rather than what something is actually worth. The response isn't to stop investing. It's to avoid piling into one product, industry, or trend just because it's rising. Keep your money spread out. When things feel overheated, shift toward more stable investments. The goal isn't to win during the surge. It's to be standing when it ends. 4. Understand your reliance on a single income. Ask a simple question. If one paycheck disappeared tomorrow, what happens? Which bills don't get paid in the first month? How long before you have to make a hard decision? Most people haven't actually thought that through, which means the answer shows up as a surprise instead of a plan. The fix doesn't have to be extreme. It can be a second source of income, a skill you can use to bring money in, or coverage for one major expense. The point is to make sure your household isn't one event away from a crisis. 5. Decide now how you'll behave when things get bad. When the economy turns, people make emotional decisions, and those decisions are often the ones that cost the most. The most common mistakes are predictable: buying when prices are high, selling after things have already fallen. Both feel reasonable in the moment. The way around that is simple. Decide in advance what you'll do. Write down what you own, what you owe, and how you'll respond if the market drops, if your income changes, or if an unexpected expense shows up. Because under real pressure, it's easy to justify the wrong move. The version of you that plans ahead makes better decisions than the one reacting. In the moment, here is the part people associate with something they've heard before: a run on the bank. But it rarely looks like a line out the door. It starts quietly, with limits. This is the one part most people don't think about until it's already a problem. Usually the worry is losing their money, not how to get to it. Markets drop, portfolios shrink, assets lose value. That's real. But in a system under genuine stress, the more immediate threat isn't loss. It's access. It's not that your money is gone. It's that your ability to move it, how much, how fast, to where, can change. Without much warning, banks can lower transfer limits, delay settlements, cap withdrawals. What felt instantaneous becomes slow. What felt unlimited becomes conditional. The system doesn't always explain what changed. Sometimes you get a notification. Most of the time you find out when something that used to work doesn't anymore. This is manageable. It just gets harder if you're seeing it for the first time while it's already happening. How your bills are paid matters. Automatic payments pulling directly from the account where the money already sits will generally continue processing even when transfers slow down. If your system depends on moving money in right before something hits, a 2-day delay becomes a missed payment. Know which bills are automatic, which accounts they pull from, and make sure the money is already there, not in transit. Where your cash sits matters. One institution, one account, one point of access. That's one point of failure. It doesn't have to be complicated. A second account at a different bank, even with a small balance, gives you an alternative. When one system slows down, people who've thought about this in advance have options. People who haven't are tied to whatever limitations appear. Timing matters more than it used to. When transfers are instant, it doesn't matter much when things hit. When they're not, a few days of float can be the difference between a payment that clears and one that doesn't. Know your billing cycle. Know what hits on the 1st, the 15th, the end of the month. Build a few days of buffer into accounts where automatic payments pull from. Call before it becomes a problem, not after. Mortgage servicers, utility companies, lenders, they handle timing issues constantly. If something looks like it might not clear, you have far more options on Monday than you do on Friday, after it's already failed. The earlier you communicate, the more flexibility exists on their end. Silence is the most expensive choice you can make when things get tight. And when you step back, the pattern is hard to miss. None of this was new. You've been watching it your whole life. The only difference between then and now is you finally know what you're looking at. Don't waste that. Most people do. You'll start noticing it more clearly after this. So, what are you seeing now that people around you keep ignoring?